Let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, I got a question for you to start off.
Bring it.
Talk about Medicare scam calls. You and I have both been doing this 14, 15 years. Would you say that the number of times we get called on a weekly or daily basis with people saying, hey, I get 4 or 5 calls a day, has that gone up? Have you gotten more of those calls or less calls the last few years?
It's an increase for sure. It's been bad for years, but the last couple of years, it's people saying nonstop. They're getting phone calls from people saying they're from Medicare. Some, saying, "Hey, I'm just soliciting," whatever else the case might be. But yeah, it's constant.
Yeah,
people getting calls, texts, Facebook messages, and mailers that look very official now. The last couple of years, I'll give them credit. Unfortunately, they've gotten crafty with the advertisements they're sending out, making it look like, hey, this is from Medicare. This is from the state of Idaho. And always down in the bottom, small print, this is an advertisement. There's no affiliation with government, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, it's unfortunate that it's so constant.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people that I think fall for it. So that's one big message that we scream from the rooftops. Work with local brokers. We're obviously biased to ourselves at Teton Medicare, but hey, if you work with another local broker, wherever you are in Idaho or elsewhere, that is important because there needs to be some accountability, right? If you talk to some telemarketer in Florida or somewhere else, chances are you're never going to talk to that person again. They want to sell you a policy, whether it's right for you or not, and then you're never going to talk to them again.
Yeah.
Where with a local broker like us, it's going to be, hey, let's take care of you now, but we want this to be a 10, 15, 20-year relationship. So there's some accountability. You can walk into our office and say, hey, this isn't working or what's going on. So yeah, I'm obviously pretty biased, but man, working with local brokers, you can trust, you can see face-to-face, you can, hold them accountable. That's a big deal. So avoid the scams, avoid that someone calls and tells you they're from Medicare. They're lying to you. Medicare does not do outbound calls. Social Security does not do outbound calls.
Medicare never sends anybody to your home.
Correct.
I did an interview on a TV station a few weeks ago, and that was one of the questions about scams. And if you go to the Medicare.gov website, it'll tell you Medicare will never send anybody to your home.
Yep.
They'll never call you and ask you for your Medicare number. That is ridiculous. They have it. I had a client drive over from Montana a few weeks ago, and he got to our office about 10:30 in the morning, if I remember right. But it was before lunch. And he said, you got to come out and look at my phone. He brought his phone out of his car, and he said, look at how many calls I've had since 8 o'clock this morning. And it was 4 or 5 scam calls. He's like, I talked to every single one of them because we were driving over the pass. And he's like, and they were all calls about Medicare saying they were going to help me out with my plan.
Yep.
And it was just that morning. He's like, this is every day, all day. And it's been that way for years. A number of years ago, there was a former football star that got hired by a national company to do some really misleading, I'll say it, fraudulent misleading. They were just flat out lies a lot of times and misleading. But anyway, and it seems like to me when that started, when those ads kicked off is when it got worse. It's gotten worse. There's almost like this confidence that these companies have. And some of them are inside the United States. Some of them are calling you from outside the United States. But they've gotten very crafty. They'll use a local phone number.
Right.
So one of the towns in our area is called Pocatello. And you'll get calls from a number that looks like it's from Pocatello. It's not. It could be from New York. It could be from Bangladesh.
Totally.
So avoid those calls. The best advice we can give you is tell them to not call you anymore, take you off your call list, and hang up the phone. And then call us.
Yep.
And we'll answer questions. How many times have you gotten a call like this? It says, hey, Lee, I got a call this morning, and they said they can give me more cash back. They can give me some money back on my Medicare.
Right.
You get those calls?
Absolutely. And I tell people again, don't chase the shiny object, right? They can sell you on one small aspect of a plan and act like it is everything else is just as good or better, but this is really one big thing. And then after the fact, those are the calls that I just frustrate me when a client calls and says, hey, I changed my plan because of someone said this and this would be better. And now that I've tried to use my plan, now my Eliquis isn't covered. Or now my doctor's not in the network, or now whatever else, I can't get a hold of anyone, right? Like, don't chase the shiny object. Stick with the overall plan. And again, a local broker, going back to that again, we can help you say, here's all the aspects of the plan that really are going to affect you. Let's look at the whole picture, not just one aspect that sounds really cool. We want you to be protected when you need a knee replacement, or if you have a cancer diagnosis, or you need some expensive medications. Those are all critical.
Or your care gets turned down.
Right.
We can help you walk through that process of saying, okay, you got turned down for this. Let's go and appeal that. Let's go and try to fix that. Let's find out why it got turned down. Let's go back to the cash back, because I think that's part of the scam. That's probably one of the leading scams that are out there. They'll get a letter in the mail. You'll get a phone call that says, hey, we can give you cash back on your Medicare. Let's explain what that means. There are specific plans for people who are full eligible for Medicare, full eligible for Medicaid at the highest level. They usually have to meet some sort of an illness, definitely an income restriction. They have to have limited income, but definitely have to have an illness in most states. And they will sometimes give you cash back in the form of, you're not getting a check, you're not getting cash in your hand. They're going to pay for a portion of your Medicare premium. They're going to give you extra benefits like groceries or help pay for certain things. In parts of the United States, they'll pay for some of your utilities, right? But it's specific to where you live, specific to the county, the zip code you live in, specific to your individual situation of your income, your assets. It's a very small population, but they're using those plans that do exist, and they're sending them out in a broad net to everybody, trying to get you to pick up the phone and make a phone call. Most people don't qualify for it.
Correct.
Yeah, so be careful. Those scams are everywhere. Hang up the phone, tell them not to call you anymore, and then call us and run it past us. Do not give out your Medicare number over the phone.
Amen.
Do not give your Social Security number out over the phone. I can't think of a scenario that makes sense.
Nothing good will come from that,
Yeah.
for sure.